Nervous system, of course, is one particular system that helps organism to respond to stimuli. If I may ask you now, maybe you're wondering what is stimuli? Stimuli is change in environment. Change in environment. That is what stimuli is. Sorry, I'm just shortening that. So, because, for example, now you're hearing me because there's a sound coming from me, so you're responding to that. So ability to respond to stimuli is called sensitivity, but the structure that helps that to happen is the nervous system. So in short, there are two systems that helps our body to function normally: the nervous system and the hormonal system, which we'll do that in another video. We talk about all the hormones or the glands that secrete hormones basically. But for the moment, we are looking at this collection of structures that helps to what respond to stimuli, and that is the nervous system. So we have two divisions of the nervous system right now. We have the central nervous system, which is short form as CNS, and we have the peripheral nervous system. Now, the central nervous system is made up of the brain and the spinal cord. So now the video playing there is showing you that. So this is the brain, spinal cord only. That is what forms CNS. While the PNS is the peripheral nervous, which is made up of all the nerves that came out from that, and that will be what all these nerves only. Can you see that without the brain, all those nerves? So nerves are made up of, all the nerves. That talks about the 12 pairs of cranial nerves and the 31 31 pairs, please. 31 pairs of spinal nerves that forms the entire peripheral nervous system. So we have 12 pairs of nerves from the brain, 12 on the right, 12 on the left. Then we have 31 pairs from the spinal cord, as it were. That's why it's called spinal nerves, as it were. But whether you need to remember the number of nerves, that's not even what I'm after. I'm just after you remembering the fact that we have CNS, brain and spinal cord, peripheral PNS, which is the nerves basically. Now, it is very important for you to remember something. And what is that right now? 1 second. Is the fact that there's something called nerves, there's something called neuron. Now, usually students find it a bit difficult to remember the difference between neurons and nerves. Now, these whole structure is a nerve, but it contains neuron, otherwise called nerve cell. So if you say nerve cell or neuron, that's safe. But once you say nerve, you're already referring to groups of neurons or group of nerve cell. This is very important. It's something you can be asking in an examination. So you can see this is a spinal nerve that contains a lot of neurons in it. You can see a lot of neurons. Of course, each of these has a name, which I'm not going to that right now. So having established that, we move on to the next. So now this is a further explanation of what our system does. It helps us to respond to stimuli. Like we can see right here, you've seen this person responded to stimuli. That was a snake. Well, actually, this snake is not real. It's I think a rubber snake. It's a prank actually, but it was able to carry out what we want to establish here: how fast the person responds. Now, one major thing you want to remember is here, amongst others, is this: impulses in nervous system is carried as electrical signal. Don't forget that. Information is transferred from that guy, from his feet to his brain in a very fast way. The way when you switch on the light on your switch, put on the switch and light turns on immediately. That's how fast that carries information, travels to the brain on along the nervous system. Now, I want you to see here. It says here you should know that nerves and neurons shouldn't be used interchangeably because they don't mean the same thing. So, what's a neuron? Is a single unit or single nerve cell, which is basic unit of nervous system, while nerve is what? A bundle of neuron. Usually, you can also define neuron as the basic structural and functional unit of what? Of the nervous system. Either of this definition is okay. Either you say this unit, the smallest unit of nervous system, and how you want to put it, it's fine. All right. Hope that made sense. Moving on. So now this is very important. I'm going to explain a number of things here. So I want you to please pay all the attention you can. This is a typical neuron, or you can say a typical nerve cell. I told you nerve cell or neuron can be used interchangeably, but don't just say neurons. Don't just say nerve. I mean to say. Now, I'm going to label a number of things here. Please make sure you are listening. You might pause the video to write what is here really, but I have a lot of explanation that will make sense to you here. So these ending here are called dendrite. You can see that. But this one has a name which is called dendron. Dendron. All right. Now, this, of course, this is the nucleus. It is labeled. This place is called soma, otherwise called cell body. Cell body. Now, walk with me. If impulse is coming into this guy, how does impulse move? It's going to move from dendrite 1 to the dendron 2 to the soma or cell body 3, then to this whole part, which is the axon, that will be 4, then to the end, the terminal, nerve terminal or nerve ending, which is going to be 5. So if you are asked to talk about the movement of impulse along the neuron, is going to be from dendrite to dendron to cell body or soma to axon to nerve ending. So in that order, that's how the impulse moves. Don't forget that sequence. It is very important. Now there's something here that is of utmost importance, which is myelin sheath. Myelin sheath is a fatty layer that coats the neuron. But this myelin sheath does something very important. When impulse comes into this neuron, please walk with me at this point. The impulse electrical signal comes here. This myelin sheath is a fatty sheath that serves as an insulator. So what it does is that when impulse gets here, it jumps to this space, and that space is called node of Ranvier. Node of Ranvier. Ranvier. So from it jumps from here to this node of Ranvier to this next to this next to this, then it goes on like that. So that's called circulatory conduction. Now hear this. That means that this myelin sheath makes the transfer of impulse in a neuron like this faster. Any neuron that has myelin sheath is called myelinated neuron, from the name myelinated neuron, and the ones without myelin sheath is called unmyelinated neuron. So I'm going to show you something real quick to see the differences between a myelinated neuron, how signal move across these two. Watch this. Now looking at this right now, you're seeing neuron, let me call this neuron A, and I call this neuron B. Can you see how the impulse is moving here? It's going to move across the whole length. But here it's going to jump from node of Ranvier to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. This is what we have. This is what we have mostly in our body. We have some of these anyways, or at a particular developmental stage. But this is called myelinated neuron. You can see how the impulse moves very fast. So if you are asked in an exam, what is the function of myelin sheath in a neuron? It helps to, it increases the speed of impulse across the neuron. Anything we not talk about, just remember to refer to the fact that it makes the transfer of impulses faster across the neuron. This is very, very important. You might rewind the video to watch the other parts. So now, generally in your nervous system, there's something you have to remember. This is the sequence of transfer of information. The stimuli is detected, which could be sound, touch, taste, anything. Visual. I am a stimulus to you right now. The screen on that you are seeing right now is a stimulus. You are seeing it. Then receptor is what detects the stimulus, or stimuli plural. Now, the receptor is found in majorly your sense organs. Receptors are found in the eye, are found in the ears, are found on the skin, are found on the tongue, are found, of course, in the nose. Can you see? So it's like we are saying sense organs, like receptors are basically like sense organs, but it's like a bit more than that. But just know that receptors are found in sense organs to detect different stimuli. That's it. So, for example, now you're seeing me because you have retina, you have visual receptors, which is called cones and rods in your eyes that detect what is in front of you right now. You have auditory receptors, which we call, I don't want to go too deep, it's called organ of Corti. There's some structural thing in our ears that makes you to hear my voice right now. So we can go on and on. On your skin, you have touch receptor that responds to touch. You have thermoreceptor that responds to temperature. You have cold receptor for cold. You have for pressure, Pacinian corpuscles. We have a lot of that really. So I won't go too deep because it's not a full-blown A-level lecture as it were. But the truth is, each of these are organs that contains receptor that respond to stimulus. Now, when the stimulus has been detected, or stimuli plural, please don't forget stimuli means, whenever I say stimuli, I'm referring to plural form. So these receptors is detected this stimuli. In between here, we have neurons that will take the information to the brain. Now, not just the brain, usually it could be the spinal cord. Coordinator is that part of the nervous system that analyzes what it has seen and takes the necessary decision. So when it takes the necessary decision, okay, for example, now I just scream into your ears. The sound of the scream is the stimulus. Your hearing receptors detect it. Some neurons took it to your brain, and your brain analyzes within less than a second that scream is going to injure your eardrum. So your brain decides to say, take off your head from his mouth. So that decision of take off your head from his mouth has been decided by your brain, which is coordinator. Then the effector, which is the muscles of your neck, takes away your head from my mouth. And what is the response? The actual taking away of the head. This is very simple, and this goes for almost all kind of responses, almost kind of actions the nervous system has to execute. All right. Having established that, we move on. Now, quickly, we have types of neurons. Type of neurons based on what they do. Please pay attention at this point. We have sensory neurons, which means a neuron that take information from your part of the body to the CNS. So in this case here, this is if someone's fingernail trying to prick someone's skin. So the impulse of the prick on the skin goes to the nervous CNS, please, through the sensory neuron. While the motor neuron is the one that takes the information from the CNS back to your effector. For example, when I was talking about the screaming thing, so your brain decided that you should take your ears away from my mouth. So who would do the movement? The muscles of the neck. So the guy that took the information from the brain to the muscle of the neck is the motor neuron. Can you see it here? Motor neuron taking it to the muscles. This is muscle. Then of course we have something called relay neuron. Relay neuron is the one that connects the motor neuron to the sensory neuron, and usually it is found in the spinal cord. I'm going to show you that when we get to reflex action, yes, and reflex arc. We'll get to that later. So these are just the structural differences in sensory neuron, relay neuron, and motor neuron. The reason why we have CNS to CNS is because it connects the end of sensory neuron to the end of motor neuron, which meets in the spinal cord. All right. Moving on. So this is a very those of you that are offering, if you a GCSE student, you would have seen this particular picture from your textbook. This particular one exactly. It says here. So this is how you should see how different components of nervous system interact. It is very important. You can be asked questions on this. I've seen questions on this before. So now it says here, for example, a small bird is eating some seed. Good. When out of one corner of its eyes, it spots a cat skulking towards it. Now, the cat is the stimulus here, singular, because that is something that has caused a change in the environment right now. Because the environment before was the guy was just eating the seed. I mean, the bird was just eating the seed, but now something has invaded the environment now. So there's a change. So the receptor in the eyes of the birds are stimulated. Immediately they are stimulated, they've seen it, then they send information to what? They send information by the sensory neuron. That was going to tell the brain, there's a cat now, or there's something now. Maybe, yeah, let's just say there's something now, because it is the brain that is going to analyze, this is a cat is a predator, it's going to eat you up. So it goes to the nervous system from the receptors to CNS. Now the CNS decide what to do. Like I just told you, cat is a predator, it's going to kill this bird and eat it. So, and that we don't want that to happen, or the bird doesn't want that to happen. So the CNS sends information to the muscles of the bird's wing. So it has decided what to do. What is it? This is a threat, you have to flee, you have to fly away from there. So the effector, the CNS decide what to do, send information to the wings. So the muscles of the wings is the effector. The effector is what will do what the brain has decided to do, or what will do what the CNS has decided to do. So the information will get to the effector by who? Motor neuron, like I told you. So it gets along the motor neurons, the muscles contract, and the bird flies away to safety. Period. So rewind this video if you have to, so you can get the best out of this. All right.